Okay, so I have my guy here. Let's go ahead and grab all this and hide it. So we're dealing with just the biped. And I'm going to come over here to the motion tab, and we're going to go ahead and have a little bit of fun here and kind of play around with animating and stuff. So footstep mode is what I'm going to turn on. Once you're in footstep mode, basically you're ready to kind of animate with footsteps. So with footsteps, it gets its name from actually dancing. Have you ever seen an old movie where people are learning dancing and they actually put down pictures of feet on the ground to know where the steps are to the dance? If you've never seen a movie with that, that makes sense too. But that's kind of where it gets the name. It's literally putting pictures of the feet down for the animation to kind of follow and go through there. Now, you can do it by hand, but it's a bit tricky to do it by hand. You can actually kind of auto add footsteps as well, and so there are three different kinds of footstep creations you can do up here. There's walk, running, and jumping. I will say the walking is pretty decent. So walking is a pretty helpful file. Jumping is okay too, but running is more like a trot or a hopping kind of weird sort of run. It's not good. In fact, I've seen a lot better running cycles made from a walking cycle versus an actual running one. So if you're wanting to do a walk cycle, you can use, or I'm sorry, running, you can use walk often more effectively than run. All right, so one thing that you can do is really handy is right here. You can create footsteps manually. I do not really recommend it unless there's something really specific you're trying to do and you know kind of what to do there. But this create multiple footsteps tool right here is really good. So I'm going to click it. I have walk selected. You can actually add walk, run, or jump footsteps all in one when you're in footstep mode. So if you wanted a character to walk and then jump and then run, you can do with all of those. But you have to either be out of footstep mode and back in freeform mode, so converting back to normal animation, or you can only animate in footstep mode. I don't know. So that's kind of how it's set up. What you can do here is create multiple footsteps walk. Works really well, and you can tell it how many footsteps you want and how far you want it to go, etc. I'm gonna say, I don't know, 15 seems fine. I can play around with my width and stride and stuff, but it usually works out good. So let me just hit OK. And you can see here now what it's going to do is it's going to place the footsteps in front of the character. Okay, now if I hit play, nothing's happening. I haven't kind of activated them. I've just made them, and it's created all of them again in front of the character, and it's spaced them out in a way that should look okay. I say should because often you need to kind of fiddle with it a little bit. And you can do things like here, you can add more you can add keys and you can delete keys as well, or delete footsteps. So I'm going to click create keys for inactive footsteps, which in this case is all of them, and they'll change color too. So right now they're kind of white, but if I even click off them, they're real brightly colored, right? But if I click this button, they'll change to a pale color. Notice the biped's already changed arm position, put his arms down too. And if I hit play, here we go. Here's our character walking. Now you'll note it works, right? And this character looks fine. The animation's fine. It is not the most dynamic or exciting or realistic walk in the world. It's a little robotic, but if I were to hide my biped, for example, let me go ahead and now do unhide all, and we'll grab all of our bipeds, like child nodes. Right. Select child nodes, and let's hide selection, and you can see here again, there's my character walking along. Again, it ain't great. He's a little stiff, little robot like, but you can kind of tinker with it, right? So again, let me unhide all. You can also, if you have your character in here, I can grab it all and I can freeze it. If you go to object properties, so remember we went to object properties before. So if I go to object properties for this, I can actually click freeze, but I also want to turn off show frozen and gray so they look normal, so my guy doesn't look funky. Let's go ahead and make sure this biped, I don't remember if I saved it before or after, but select child nodes, and then we'll go right click object properties, and let's make sure, okay, yeah, render both turned off. Okay, cool. So now if I hit shift Q, for example, it should render out just my character. Looks fine, everything looks fine, but none of the biped stuff. So again, remember we have biped not rendering, character we are rendering, and we have it frozen. So if I go to try to click it, notice I can click the biped, but I can't click the character, right? So we can do stuff, we can kind of play with it a little bit. So maybe if I wanted to, and I'll pick BIP 01 here, which is kind of my object root. We'll turn auto key, and I don't know, go back. Here you can kind of play with some fun stuff. I can turn on motion paths, and let's see, well, let me display. Maybe it doesn't like it. Maybe it doesn't like it while we're playing in it right now. All right, we'll come back. You can turn on motion path something. I think maybe I have to do it over here. Actually, you can do that too. This one's what I'm looking for. Trajectories. There we go. So trajectory is what I'm thinking because we're in biped mode. Trying to remember what's in biped mode, what's not in biped mode. Even I got trouble, but you can see here is the path of that bone that is selected. So I can also come over here and I can turn on this little button will actually let me select the key modes or keyframes. So I can also select them like that. If I want, we're going to come in here to keyframing tools, and I'm trying to think. Manipulate sub animations, clear, mirror, anchor the hands, set multiple keys. I don't want that offhand. I'm trying to think of how kind of play with this first. I don't think it's sub animations what I'm looking for. Alright, anyway. Again, I'm kind of just playing around, but been a minute. What you can do is this. So let's say I grab this guy and I'm just going to move him down a little. Now I can go to the next one. So here he's kind of, well, maybe I shouldn't lower down the very first one, huh? But I could make him do whatever. You can see he's got the IK chains. We have auto key turned on, so I can play with the auto key. And this thing will skip to the actual key in the middle. So maybe I want to go down just a little bit more in that middle key. So every time he's kind of in the middle, I'm just going to drop him down just a little bit. Maybe give him a little more bounce to that step. I don't want to probably go too much. And again, if we're doing it, it's an organic character, right? Like, so it can be, it doesn't have to be exactly the same each time. That kind of chaos will help make it feel a little more organic. Alright, so now all I did was literally kind of come through and lower him down. You can see the waves a little bit lower. Only about half of them, but let's see how he looks. Computer's a little laggy. So he just got a little bit more movement to him. It's not a lot, it's subtle. But we can kind of do this with any bits, right? Any of the bits we want to do with the character. So if I wanted to, I could do the same thing with his hip position or his arms or whatever. And we can kind of tinker with that walk cycle a lot more, right? If we wanted to, we could make quite a bit of differences. Again, all of the objects kind of have the same setup. So if I wanted to, maybe let's say, I'm going to move the arm whenever it's in front. So you can see there it is. I can flip the keyframe and let's move it a little bit. Click this, it'll go straight to the keyframe. 2, 2. Get a little close. Ba-bum. So let's play it. So see how now the arm's a little bit more, got a little bit more movement to it. And we can do this with really any of it, right? We can do this with any of its body positions as it goes through the animation. So if I want it, maybe I want it more, I don't know, more movement to the spine, right? I don't know how much spine movement there really is on this guy. So it doesn't feel like a lot, but again, I could do that. I could add a little more spine twist if I wanted. So maybe if I want to grab both of the spine bones. And again, I'm going to leave that guy here, I think, in the beginning. And we can zoom in a bit just so easier to see. I'll grab my rotation tool. Oh, well, I mean, be careful there. A little bit goes a long way. So maybe I'll just give him a little bit of a twist. So maybe here I'm going to give him a little bit of the twist. That way. Give him a little bit of twist that way. Give him a little bit of twist the other way. I could also go up and down. So that's the other thing too, is moving the hips really would give me a lot of change. I'm just getting a little bit more shoulder movement. Or depending on how much I move him, it could be more than a little. Again, some of that's going to get down to what is he supposed to look like? How do I want to move? All of that, right? So here in this example, I'm just kind of playing around and modifying the default walk cycle. So again, if we play, again, you can see it got a lot more movement to him. Might be too much, but it's coming along. We could do the same thing. I could have more of a hunch if I want him to walk more bestial. That kind of thing. I can tell you, doing this just by playing, just by moving the stuff, is really hard and almost always going to look weird and not supernatural. I mean, supernatural, like not normal, super normal. If you wanted it to look supernatural, if you wanted to do something else, you're going to need to look at video. I made a really cool animation after seeing the movie Split, where the main character gets on all fours and runs. Basically just looking at his body position and trying to break that down into, I want to say 4 or 6 keyframes, like key body positions, and then basically just copied those over, like, made it repeating. Again, this is for a game, so I just had to kind of make one cycle of it moving, and then it just repeats. But I had to watch the video and kind of look at the character's arms and leg positions and stuff, which was tricky because a human running on all fours has a very different gait than an animal running on all fours, even if it looks like an animal running on all fours, because our hips and our torso and our arms aren't really meant to do that. So it actually looks extra super weird. but worked out really well. Again, looks really great in game. But again, I had to look at the video from the movie and kind of pause it and try to figure out those positions. So this, it's possible that just by tinkering with this a little bit, I could get the look I'm looking for a certain character. Maybe I know what I want. But if you haven't done a lot of, animating like this kind of thing, really looking at a video is going to make a big difference. All right, hopefully this one's kind of helping too. And then if you're all done with this, like I can convert it, right? So I want to say it's this guy here, convert. So if I hit convert, notice the footsteps are gone, right? The motion, the line is still there because it's still turned on down here or whatever. But let me turn it off. So again, you can see it still kept all those animations. So if I were to save this out, I can save it out as a BIP file. He's animated, still walking, but the footsteps are gone. So this is basically looks like as if I animated by hand, right? Those are just keyframes. They're just floating keyframes in space. The anchoring's gone. His feet and hands are not anchored or anything. So I could save this out as a BIP file and then use the motion mixer and mix it in. So if I want him to walk up and then kick using that other animation, again, I could use the motion mixer to load the kick animation and the walk animation together. Now it's easy, I'm going to air quotes, to play with this, but you actually would need to save this out as a BIP file and then take this BIP file and the other BIP file of the kick and load them into a brand new separate file, which is one part really why I saved this guy after he was converted without any animation data. So now if I saved this again as one BIP file and the other one, I could load both of those into a third brand new one and mix them. So it's easy and convenient with air quotes if you're working with separate files. But when we're doing animation, again, you want to kind of sometimes think of it as pieces, not whole. If you're doing it for a game, you're animating just little cycles that you can repeat in engine. When a character walks, there's literally just one foot repeating footstep kind of walk animation, not this whole walking in row thing. It literally, you would want to get rid of the animation that going forward at all, having them in one spot, and then you would want to trim it down to just have animation keys from one to the other, so it literally cycles exactly through, and they're the same. And then you would play that over and over in a game, or even in your portfolio for your, animation reel. I wouldn't want this whole walk thing. I would just trim it down to just that section, and you could trim it. Maybe you could trim it in the motion mixer if you wanted to, kind of editing it like video in there, or you could trim it here with keyframes or whatever works for you. Again, if for this guy I wanted to do that, let me just pause it. Really, this one, BIP01, that's the one that moves him forward. So if I still have trajectory turned on, that's weird. I turned off the trajectories. Huh. Oh, enable sub animations. That's not trajectories. Or trajectories. It doesn't matter. But you can see here again, this is the one that's making the character move forward. I wouldn't want, ideally I really wouldn't maybe want to delete all the keys. I mean, I could, I guess, but if I were to delete all of them, it might look a little bit funky. We can see. Let's just delete and see what we get. Because he won't move then. He'll just do everything in order. But oh yeah, you can see without the keys telling it where to go, it's getting real ugly. So this might need a little bit of tinkering to get it to play just in place. So that's going to take more than just deleting that one. Oh well. Anyway, the point is I would need to stay in one spot. Again, it might be easier to export this and bring it in instead of doing it all in one. There's a lot of tricks like that work a little bit better sometimes when you're doing that, like in the motion mixer. Anyway, I hope this was helpful working with footstep keys. Now we're back in freeform mode. These are just animation keys, as if we just turned on auto key and animated the biped. You can work with either, and you can blend them, but now I would need to use the motion mixer to blend them versus I can't just, if I added more footstep motion, it would kind of undo this one. So keep that in mind.